Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. This time of year, we like to take a look back at some of our favorite moments of the past 12 months. And more often than not, we find that those stories usually have something in common. Phenomenal people doing wonderful things for Oklahoma. So sit back and enjoy the best of SUNUP.
A well-choreographed scene unfolds on a beautiful morning in front of Boone Pickens Stadium on the Oklahoma State University campus. Each player knows his or her role, unloading and placing fence panels, boots in and out of the stock trailer, adjusting and readjusting until everything is just right. The sign is up, the straw is spread. A lot of work for a select group of high school students.
It's quite an ordeal when we get ready for this every year because everybody wants to come.
Once the fencing is secure, the stars of the show take their cues, some more willingly than others.
We got our 4 girl donkeys, we got 3 miniature ponies, 2 POAs, a zebu, a calf, and two weather goats.
The volunteers behind this production are from Ponca City High School's 4-H and FFA.
We were more than happy to bring our petting zoo on the road and come to Stillwater. And it's one of the best experiences that we do all year long. We see a lot of kids that don't have the opportunity to see livestock very often, and my kids get a lot out of it.
Their audience? The 7,000 to 8,000 athletes, as well as volunteers and families, taking part in the state games of the Oklahoma Special Olympics, one of the best in the nation.
We are the only state that puts on this big of a production for our special athletes. We really get involved in our athletes, and we love to give them everything we can give them at 100%.
And part of that 100% is the petting zoo in Olympic Village.
And it's just mostly for the kids to have fun and kind of relax and enjoy.
Graham Elliott Hulseys competed in 4 Olympic Games. His mom Leslie says Graham can't wait to see the animals.
Graham just participated in some events and he wanted to come straight to see the animals. He doesn't like the noisy things. He likes the more quiet activities with the animals.
Clearly, the athletes enjoy seeing and interacting with the animals, but there are other more subtle benefits they take away from this experience as well.
Certainly we know that it lowers blood pressure, it helps to relieve anxiety, and overall just improves your quality of life. So those are some pretty big benefits that we see across the board.
Dr. Laura Sipneski of the university's Center for Veterinary Health Sciences leads a pet therapy program on campus.
In general, they're very calm, so when you are around something that's calm, it helps to reduce your anxieties, and I think maybe sometimes it helps us just take ourselves away from the stress of our normal daily life and just focus on something that's warm and fuzzy.
Out here, in between competitive events, that's the kind of break they need.
And a lot of kids don't get to experience these animals, and so we want to bring that experience into these kids so they can have it.
And the FFA and 4-H students make sure they do.
To make them happy and just like good seeing their smile on their face.
Down here, there's no competition. We don't win a belt buckle. We don't win a trophy or prize or any money. But we leave this place feeling a lot better about the world and better about ourselves for what we can help with these young people.
The animal-human connection.
Animals have a lot to teach us, and they reach people with special needs in special ways that humans can't.
Quiet moments of understanding that can happen just about anywhere.
Are they all girls? No, he's a boy, and these are 2 females, these 2 bigger ones.
Big old smile come across their face, their eyes light up, and I recognize some of those kids come back, you know, time after time after time on the same day. I think they really enjoy this petting zoo. Next to the ice cream bars, I think this might be the second most popular thing here.
And that might just be a true measure of success.
The Tallgrass Prairie Preserve that the Nature Conservancy manages is a wonderful outdoor laboratory. There's questions we can ask here that we can't ask anywhere else in Oklahoma.
They try to mimic what we think happened in tallgrass prairie, sort of pre-settlement or sort of urbanization and agriculture, and that's that fire and grazing are allowed to interact. So they randomly burn areas, and after they burn them, as you can see, grazers are drawn to that burn area. It's got lush regrowth, it's got high protein, and as one of my colleagues put it, it's kind of like comparing a salad to a 2x4. So they're going to select this lush regrowth as opposed to areas that haven't been burned in a couple of years.
These shorter sections of prairie grass have another use as well. This is where greater prairie chickens come to mate.
Prairie chickens are a good indicator of the overall health, so to speak, of the prairie. Since they need all the different time-sense or all the different plant structures, if you've got them on the landscape, it's a good indication that all the other wildlife species are going to have the right habitat components as well. So they're kind of a good canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for other wildlife species.
That's why this team of scientists from Oklahoma State University comes to the Tallgrass Prairie Preserve. Over the first 3 years of this study, they looked into nesting ecology. But now in their 4th year,
basically what we do is capture these birds in the spring when they're on the lek, which is where the males congregate to breed, and we fit them with transmitters that allows us to see where the birds go, what kinds of plant communities they use, what their home range and what their survival is. So what we're interested in is being able to provide livestock producers and land managers with some guidance on things that they can do that not only benefit livestock production, but also will keep prairie grouse, prairie chickens, and other wildlife species on the landscape.
while the birds prefer shorter, more recently burned grasses for booming, they need the taller, unburned grasses like this for nesting cover.
Birds typically lek in areas that have been recently disturbed, so areas that don't have a lot of vegetation, presumably so they can see predators as they approach lek sites. But then birds also need other parts of the landscape that are unburned. So the majority of the nests that I've monitored have been in areas that haven't been burned in greater than 2 years. So areas with taller vegetation, more litter accumulations, presumably so they can seal the nest from predators, but also through my research we found that those areas tend to be cooler. And then on top of that, they also have a life cycle where they have their chicks when they're brooding, and they seem to take birds out in areas that have been burned about a year ago, maybe up to 2 years ago, that have more forbs, kind of a canopy. If you think of it like a forest, it has kind of a canopy of forbs, but it has less litter, so they're able to move their brood through there and forage on insects. So they really require varying times post-fire and grazing for all of the life cycles, or all of their life history traits throughout their life cycle.
The other thing we've seen is they avoid tree cover. So having fire on the landscape is critical to keep prairies open and woody covered out. But having some areas unburned in a given year are really important for nesting. So it just really points to the fact that everything shouldn't look the same. We need burned areas, we need some unburned areas.
That knowledge should give Oklahoma's greater prairie chickens something to boom about.
Inside this farmhouse, 15 miles west of Fairview, Oklahoma,
Have been a farm girl all my life.
Charlotte Tucker uses her long arm machine to custom quilt blocks that come along once in a lifetime, once in a century, in fact, to mark 100 years of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service. A 4-H'er as a child, Charlotte entered sewing projects in the county fair.
My grandmother used to sit in a rocking chair quilting, and that always fascinated me.
She changes the thread often and gauges each individual block with her creative eye.
It has to be out in front of me, and then it starts talking to me.
The results are breathtaking. Charlotte's quilting stands on its own, yet humbly showcases the block itself.
All the work that's involved in it, how it talked to me, not to rob the beauty from the piecer. That I feel like that's the quilter's job, is to make the piece shine.
The blocks are from the Centennial Quilt Block Challenge that Risa Garcia helped organize.
152 quilt blocks from 3 states arrived in my personal mailbox in Woodward, Oklahoma, and that was so much fun because every day when I would open the mail, I would get out my camera and take pictures and say, look what came today.
The team then narrowed it down to 42.
Looking at the 152 in no particular order, but to give me their input on what they thought best represented the extension story.
The contest also had online voting.
Nearly 24,000 hits looking at this and over 3,000 votes, and we really utilized social media there again to get out the awareness. One lady, I believe she'd be proud for me to say that she won the hand-pieced category.
That lady is Marie Davis of Dewey in Washington County.
Well, my mother taught us to quilt when we was children. She always had a quilt up in the house, year-round almost, and she would let us quilt. Now, I don't know how good my stitches was, but she never did say anything, so I guess it was okay.
Busy raising a family, Marie didn't quilt for decades until 1993 at the encouragement of one of her sons. She wasn't sure she could even still do it.
But I made it and won second prize at the fair on it. So that's what started me quilting again.
She's made dozens of beautiful quilts since. And when she heard about the contest,
I just thought that it'd be fun. Well, my block is the road to Oklahoma. I thought that was fitting for the occasion. And it's an old quilt pattern.
likely older than the sewing machine she's had for 65 years, Marie entered her block and thought that was the end of it, until sitting at her laptop one day reading an email with her granddaughter.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked at it, so it made me real happy.
A first-place ribbon in the hand-pieced category. She became a social media sensation for the online part of the contest. Word spread of the 94-year-old great-great-grandmother's great quilt block.
Well, I put it on Facebook, and all of my friends told their friends about it. Made me proud that they thought that much of me to vote for me.
Second place out of 152 blocks for online viewers' choice, and another ribbon.
We run a pretty good race.
But more important than ribbons and recognition, Marie's pure joy of being a part of it all.
Well, it's just been a wonderful experience. Just all the love that poured in.
Blocks from the heart. And when they're connected, a quilt that stands as a symbol of Extension's enduring contribution, linking homes, farms, and most important, families across Oklahoma and beyond for a century.
Every day, or every month at least, is really a new story in the Mesonet. And whether it's a historic ice storm or a historic heat wave.
It is a great outdoor laboratory. Now, a lot of times we may not like some of the things that Mother Nature throws at us.
But the Oklahoma Mesonet has been there to record all of those events. The Mesonet is celebrating 20 years of operation. That's 20 years of over 1,000 atmospheric and subterranean observations sent back to the Norman office every 5 minutes from the 120 sites across Oklahoma.
When we started from zero. The concept was to build the network from scratch so there's consistency, so we don't have to worry about one set of sensors at one place and another set at another, so you don't have to worry if one's a little bit different than another.
We've actually evolved now with 20 years of data into the beginnings of a climate network, not just a weather network.
Our archive now exceeds 5 billion observations, and there's really nowhere else in the world with such a dense archive of weather data.
You can pick a day in our 20-year Mesonet history, pick a site, go back to that hour and tell somebody this is what we recorded at that time.
You might call the Oklahoma Mesonet a success story because of all the data that it has collected over the past 20 years. But none of that would have been possible if not for the successful partnership between Oklahoma's two largest research universities.
OU and OSU joined forces to develop the plan for the state's Mesonet.
We found out that we had some colleagues at the University of Oklahoma in the Norman weather community that also had ideas about a better and bigger network of weather stations in the state.
And in 1991, Governor Henry Bellman gave us our initial funding to put out our first 108 weather stations.
J.D. Carlson did eastern Oklahoma and I did western Oklahoma. And when we started out, we thought we were going to have trouble locating places to put all of these sites.
We primarily worked with OSU and the county educators across the state to look for good representative sites in each county.
There are people actually competing to get one of these sites on their land. We thought that they wouldn't want to give up a corner of their pasture and put this big 30-foot tower in there, but they were actually eager for it.
We had those deployed by January 1st, 1994, and our network was operational.
To be truly a statewide network, we felt that we had to be dispersed across the state and get a good on-the-ground look at our weather as it happens. And we know we live in a state with very dynamic weather.
Just a fantastic data source that lets us do some things that our colleagues in other places are quite envious about.
And the best part is, it's accessible to everyone the world over, with special focus on helping Oklahomans.
I think we had a part in helping connect rural Oklahoma into a lot of these, especially weather information, but in some ways, once they had the connection to weather information, it opened up a whole lot of other kinds of opportunities, especially with some of the rural schools.
We work with firefighters, fire managers, emergency managers, farmers, growers, and producers in the K-12 community across the state to use the data to make decisions for their local communities.
We're a very weather conscious state, so whether it comes to public safety or business and economic value, educational value, research, we see our data applied in just a wide variety of settings.
So it's kind of a one-stop shopping for Oklahoma weather.
A day of nostalgia for the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service, perhaps even the whole state, when one really considers 100 years of serving farmers, families, and entire communities. To mark the occasion, Extension went back to its roots on the railroad.
Extension always has to use the technology that's available, and back in those days, the quickest way to get around the state and to carry some of the equipment and demonstrations that we had was to use a train, and the train companies cooperated with that because agriculture is one of their big customers, and so they allowed free passage on the trains.
Extension agents would ride those trains in the early 1900s, and when they would arrive, at times hundreds of people would be on hand to get the latest information from the USDA and from what was then Oklahoma A&M College, often called a county fair on wheels.
It was a big deal. In fact, they say lots of times they shut down the courthouse and the school and the post office and everything, and just shut the town down for a couple hours, and everybody went down to the depot where the train came in and stood around and waited for the program that the Extension folks were delivering.
So when the train rolled into the Rockin' Rail Yard at Wellston recently,
this laboratory on wheels contains all the latest and greatest in early 20th century family living and farming techniques.
That's what today's Extension educators from across Oklahoma recreated in a native pecan grove. Educational lessons for everyone, from livestock and crops to gardening and insects, home and family to 4-H, and much more. The vintage mixed in with the most modern day, all to show the impact and reach of Extension through the years, and also what lies ahead.
What we're wanting to do here is just really help kids understand how technology is going to be driving a lot of our careers in the future, especially in natural resources.
And did someone say food?
Molten lava chocolate cake and deluxe potatoes with a crispy topping that are like twice baked potatoes that are just yummy.
Dutch oven cooking, just like the early days.
They last forever. They're seasoned like Teflon if you take care of them, and they hold the heat a long time. And Martha Washington even mentioned them in her will and specified who hers went to. So they've been valued by people who cook in the outdoors particularly for a long time. It's really a revitalization of people liking to learn this skill, and we're teaching a lot of kids to do this now with the outdoor 4-H projects.
Speaking of the younger set, They're especially fascinated with the older ways. 12-year-old Hannah Thompson sums it up best.
I'm going to tell my friends that I really had a fun day. It was really awesome. Just looking back at the past and seeing from the old days and seeing to the future that I might teach my grandkids.
And if the past century is an indicator, Cooperative Extension will be right there with Hannah and her friends, teaching, extending knowledge, and changing lives well into the future. Last year at Wheat Harvest, we featured a story on SUNUP that's resonated with people all over the world. Brittany Krehbiel of Caddo County touched hearts as we rode along with her on the combine, cutting wheat on her family farm and making plans to take over the operation and fulfill not only her dreams, but the dreams of her late father, who passed away 3 years ago today. The story is the most watched in the history of SUNUP, with more than 800,000 views on YouTube and hundreds more watching it every day. Like so many young people this time of year, Brittany is starting a new chapter in her life. So today we're spending a few minutes catching up. The room's just right, with a decor reflecting her personality and all the conveniences a college student needs. But Brittany Krehbiel, now age 18, has something adorning her wall no one else has on the Oklahoma State University campus. A one-of-a-kind piece of art made by her cousin. There are name tags, a truck key, lapel pins, money from international trips, even a treasured belt buckle, all belonging to her dad, Jeff.
The pliers holder that I always saw when I was younger with his pliers that still work. I can still take them out and use them if I need them. But just lots of cool things that were his. And then she put it all together in that tractor with So God Made a Farmer. And I opened it up at my graduation party and my jaw just dropped.
Brittany knew she had to bring it with her.
Just so many cool things that mean a lot to me. And so it was really a special thing then, but now that I get to bring it to college, and it's just a piece of me that comes to college.
As she begins her first semester, she can't help but think of her dad.
For me to choose to be here and for me to love it as much as I do, I think he would eat it up. He would love it. He would absolutely love it and be so proud.
Proud she's studying agriculture too, majoring in ag economics.
Lots of tradition in this building. Dad took classes here, and it's just fun to have that part of the tradition continue.
As for the future, she has big plans.
I want to be involved in some politics for agriculture and be able to represent agriculture as far as national and internationally. But as far as where I really want to be, it's in the middle of a wheat field in Caddo County, right where I grew up.
Right at home, the 5th generation of Krehbiel planning to manage the family farm.
Finally today, our year-end show wouldn't be complete without a glimpse behind the scenes. So here you have it, SUNUP's best outtakes of 2014. Have a happy new year, everyone, and we'll see you next time at SUNUP.
Why didn't they record before I did that? That would have been great.
Best stuff's always falling on the ground, man.
Yeah, it does.
And for more information, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu. Are we going to have anything to put on the website?
Bloopers. No bloopers.
No, we'll do it perfect.
Bloopers are just, you know.
For amateurs.
Yes.
Theme song to Frozen.
It's the Dancing Beef Report. That'll probably show up in Christmas time.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Yeah.
Well, you're really good at hiding that. Yeah, he can smile and then go to a straight face like that. Okay. And of course, he even threw me.
It's a demonstration.
Yeah.
Such a cool project. It was really fun to watch it unfold. Talk a little bit about what they're learning by doing this.
The kids are learning a lot by doing this.
You and Brian are in all. I mean, the two of you, there's always several takes. I can interview anybody else, but you and Brian, well, I don't know.
So enriched strips are a good idea to have in your field. And here to learn more about those and tell us a little bit, Brian Arnell, and again, it just went in my head, soil fertility.
I'm not the only one that messes up whenever I interview.
See, I have something in my head, and now what it is, I'm thinking, I gotta say the name right, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta say something after that. I'm nervous about focus for some reason this morning. But usually when you're nervous about focus, it's because it's about to be out of focus. So I've learned to listen to that voice.
What voice are you listening to?
That one right there.
Oh, okay.
I like that voice. That voice. I listen to that.
You're out of focus.
I'm going to have like a horrible dream, like at 3 in the morning. I hear that voice. I'm like, Dave's in the house. Dave's in the house. Roll in here.
There you go.
Come to order.
Yes. Hi, welcome to Shop Stop. Today
Start over. I was wiping my nose when we started.
Hi. We're going to talk about personal hygiene.
Am I abnormally tall?
You are a little tall. You are ready. Oh, whoa, hold on. Actually.
I was ready.
But you just gave me an outtake.
I was afraid of that. Very aggressive in all areas of the pasture. So, what was the question?
Well, you should have written my name down right.
Angela. Don't do that. Angela. What's your last name?
Do you have like bloopers at the end of the year?
That's just made them, actually. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything, but yes. Okay, just so I have it on my hand.
Yeah.
Last name?
Post.
Post. Just going to say Page. I'm glad we had this talk.
Yeah. That part would be important.
There. That's her lower third. Angela Post. What's your title? Weed scientist?
Extension weed specialist.
Weed specialist. Huh.
Dave, let's talk about the water needs of cattle and the formula, sort of the benchmark that you advise producers use.
Wow. Can we just do the whole thing again?
Well, I left off the whole.
Y'all were running short anyhow.
I didn't quite finish where I was. Well, I had more to talk about actually.
Get out through here. It wasn't us. No, that was my fault. That was my fault. Okay, all righty. That's what I thought.
I'm glad they didn't go out the gate.
Huh?
Oh, so.
That wasn't us. It was them.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we helped them because they were going to have to find a way to get around them to get them back.
So,
Okay.
So you did a little herding this morning.
Yeah.